Okay, let's summarize. In a few minutes, everything we have said, let's put everything together. Okay? So we started describing the movements, right? The movements at the hip joint. Okay, where is the movements are happening in here? The anterior movement is flexion. In an anatomical position, this is extension. Okay, if you move it past the anatomical position in a posterior plane, that is extension or hyperextension. You can use either one. Okay, now we can also in the frontal or coronal plane, we can open up your thighs. See, it's the thigh where you are abducting, not your leg. So this is abduction of the thigh, and bring the thigh down or back to the midline, and you're abducting the thigh. Now rotation. Remember, we can perform also internal or medial rotation and external or lateral rotation. In this example, the leg at the knee is extended. So see the toes, but this movement is not happening at the knee, it's happening at the hip joint. Okay, and I want you again to place your hand on your hip joint and perform that movement. What is moving is the hip joint. Okay, so pointing your toes with your feet flat on the floor, point the toes medially, that is internal or medial rotation, and pointing the toes laterally, that's external or lateral rotation. You combine those movements and you have circumduction at the hip. This one is at the knee. So in an anatomical position, the knee is extended. When you lift it, okay, posteriorly, that is called flexion. You're reducing the angle between the femur and the bones of the leg. Another example. In here, see, this upper limb is extended, the hip and the knee. In here, the hip is flexed, but the knee is actually, but the knee is extended. In here, abduction, right? The hips are abducted. In here, let me go in order. In here, this is extension, see, of the hip is moving the thigh posterior to the hip joint, okay? And in this case, the knee joint is flexed. Let me grab my pen so you can see where I'm, okay? In here, the hip joint is flexed, in here is extended. In here, the hip joint, okay, in this one is flexed in the anterior plane. In this one is the thigh is posterior, so it's extended. Well, I don't think there's no problem with abduction and adduction to these. And in here you have medial and lateral rotation, but with this is another way to show it, with the knee flexed. Okay, so in this one, you're not pointing your toes. This is not the reference point, but the knee. So moving the knee towards the midline, that's medial or internal rotation. And moving the knee away from the midline is lateral or external rotation. What else do we have? More examples. See, like you're walking, you flex and extend. Flex and extend. It's a pattern. Abduction, adduction. In here, he has the internal rotation and external rotation when the knee being flexed. The same thing. Now, this is everything that we have covered today. All the muscles, all the structures. Using all of these muscles, we just covered 4 movements and 4 nerves. Let me grab it again. Okay, these 4 movements and these 4 nerves. Okay, flexion at the hip, we just described flexion, adduction, and medial rotation. And at the knee, only extension. Let's put these muscles to work to perform those movements. And these are the only 4 nerves that we mentioned today, mostly femoral, right? So flexion at the hip. What are the muscles that can flex the hip? Any muscle that is crossing the hip joint anteriorly. So in here, you're going to put psoas major and iliacus, both forming the iliopsoas, tensor facial lata, sartorius, all the adductors except gracilis, no gracilis, and only the rectus femoris on the quadriceps muscle, not the vastus. The rest, all of them can flex your thigh at the hip. Let's look for another color, green. What are the muscles that can adduct the hip? All of this. Pectineus, gracilis, and the three adductors, brevis, longus, and magnus. What are the muscles that can, on black, that can medial rotate the hip? Well, medial rotation, you have tensor facial lata, and you have all the adductors, and that's it. Okay, what are the muscles that can, what color should I pick? Yellow. Okay, that can extend the knee, all the group of the quadriceps femoris muscle, the 4 of them can extend the knee, okay? So see that there are some muscles that have more than one action, okay? Iliopsoas, why did I, oh, because I didn't, okay. Iliopsoas is a flexor. Remember that iliopsoas is flexor of the hip, but is also flexor of the trunk. And psoas major, that unilateral contraction of psoas major, can lateral flex the trunk, so is a synergist to the external oblique abdominal muscles. Now, let's see, I'm gonna go back one to erase all of that, and we can see now the nerves. Let's see the nerves. Nerves in black. Let's start in what? With superior gluteal nerve. Is innervate which muscle? The tensor facial lata. Only that one. Okay? I mean, from the group of muscles that we are covering today. Obturator nerve. Which muscles are innervated? Innervating all of this. Oh, we cannot see it. Let's, of course, Lorenita, in yellow. Okay, so all the adductor muscles are innervated by the obturator nerve. All of them, including pectineus and adductor magnus. Okay, all of them. Sciatic nerve. Well, we just mentioned sciatic one time when we were describing the adductor magnus. So see, adductor magnus can be innervated by the obturator and the sciatic nerve. 2 nerves for one muscle. Must be big, right? And last but not least, definitely not least, the femoral nerve. The femoral nerve innervates everything else. So innervates both the psoas major and iliacus, forming the iliopsoas, innervates the sartorius, innervates sometimes the pectineus, okay, innervates all the quadriceps muscle, the 4 heads of the quadriceps muscle, okay? So that's how you study. Don't study one muscle separately and then you forget about this and then you go to the next muscle. You have to group them. There is no movement at the body that is performed by a single muscle. There is a group of muscles performing one movement, okay? And the other way around, we cannot, well, in few occasions we can, but in general, we cannot isolate one movement. You know, this is flexion. No. It's a, you know, to move smoothly like this, you have a combination of movements going on at the same time. When you're flexing the knee, but at the same time, you're immediately rotating the knee. Okay? So it's a combination of movements, a combination of muscles. And good things that there are several nerves innervating several muscles. So see you in the next video. We are going to talk about surface anatomy.